This is going to be a overview on Lei Hang Salt and Tom Sinclair, which was just released today, of about 2 hours ago, 2 hours and 40 minutes ago, and we're going to be talking about their skills, their general kit, the game plan for the kit, the implications of adding them into your status teams of Tremor, Burn, and Generalist teams, and what they just generally do in the first place, because I am seeing a lot of people still confused on what he does, and that is completely understandable considering the ginormous amount of text you have to read and the ginormous amount of statuses that you have to read purely on Lei Hang Salt. So this video is just going to be explaining a bunch of those different things, and we're going to be starting off with Lei Hang Salt first, because Tom Sinclair, although not specifically helping your salt, it does boost a lot of its potential and unlocks a couple of game plans that is definitely going to be really interesting once we get into them later. So we're going to start off with playing salt first, and we're just not going to read the skills. We are going to start off with the passives. So he begins encounters with Tiger Mark round. Tiger Mark round is a ammo similar to the ammo we had in the past, but we have a max of 12. So he starts with 12 Tiger Mark rounds. These target mark rounds, if you consume them enough, you get a status from his passive, which increases his min and max speed and increases his damage against targets by speed difference, and he does more tremor and tremor count. And then this is further enhanced once you consume even more Tiger Mark rounds, because, at blah blah blah, sum of Tiger Mark round and Savage Mark Tiger Mark rounds, which we're going to do later, gain Unrelenting Spirit Shin, which is a different one, which just has the same effects, but assumingly, it does more damage and more min and max speed. Assumingly. So that's it for rounds in the first place, just Tiger Mark round and Unrelenting Spirit in general. Now we're going to get into a couple of other different things. The first thing I want to talk about is how are you supposed to get that threshold, especially when you only have 12, right? Because 12 isn't going to be enough. So, of course, this ID has a reload mechanic, which can be activated in 3 different ways. The first way you can do this is by either using your counter, being staggered, or you just naturally hit 0. So you have 2 ways to quote unquote force it. One being maybe you want to intentionally stagger him, one being fully intentional, and the third being, just naturally by yourself. All these different ways reload his ammo. And of course, that's going to be really important because these ammos allow him to inflict the burn count, and this ammo just increases base damage in general. So of course, you want to have more ammo. But instead of reloading normal ammo again, you're actually getting Savage Tiger Mark rounds. So just a short overview on Savage Tiger Mark rounds. Savage Tiger Mark rounds, they work completely the same way as normal Tiger Mark rounds on their status, on their text. They just gain the same shin, and it counts the same way. But just a small, very important thing to note, it activates the same way as Tiger Mark round does. So let's say you have a skill here that says spend Tiger Mark round. That does not mean this isn't going to activate if you only have Tiger Mark round, the normal one. This is also going to activate if you're using Savage Tiger Mark rounds, because it works the same way as Tiger Mark round does. That's a very important thing I want to point out here because I have seen people mistake it. And these Savage Tiger Mark rounds, they actually deal even more damage. And they inflict more burn potency and burn count on hit, contrary to normal Tiger Mark rounds, which only inflict more damage and give you unbreakables. Savage Tiger Mark rounds, they both give you unbreakables, more damage, and more statuses. But, only Tiger Mark round only gives you unbreakables on his S3, but we're just going to ignore that for now. That's just the little things. So, once you have all these Savage Tiger Mark rounds, what does that do for you? Well, once you have Savage Tiger Mark rounds, you gain access to his S3, an enhanced S3, which is Savage Tiger Slayer's perfected flurry of blades, Chinese something. I don't know what that says. And this is a 5-coin skill. The main highlight of his skill, huge damage, 5 coins, coin power, blah blah blah. We're not going to get into the facts, but that is all. That is the very condensed version of his kit. Now we're going to be getting into small things as in things that are not very important to talk about, but it's still something that he has. Overheat, which is something that he gets when you have absolutely zero ammo, and it only loses if you have Savage Tiger Mark round. So if you have, let's say, zero Tiger Mark rounds, you're gonna gain overheat, and you're gonna have to wait the next turn. And then once you wait the next turn, you get your Savage Tiger Mark rounds. After you depleted it naturally to zero, you're gonna refill it next turn. You get the zero Tiger Mark rounds, and then you refill it next turn. You get 8 Savage Tiger Mark rounds. So then you lose your overheat. But overheat, when you have zero ammo, does the following: more speed, and you lose clash power based on the amount of ammo that you consume in this encounter. And on 8, 14, and 20 rounds, respectively, you gain the following bonuses. One being protection based on your missing HP, the second being more damage on your unbreakables on clash lose, and the third being more HP difference damage, HP difference on yourself with the enemy. So just damage bonuses and clash power down and protection. And we're gonna get into how that actually affects his playstyle later on once we get to Sinclair. So that's gonna be Lei Heng Salt in general. Just a a lot of ammo game plan. Oh, it's consume X to gain this, consume more of X to gain even more bonuses, and these bonuses give you access to a S3. When after you reload, these bonuses increase your damage. You get your S3, you spend your S3, etc., etc., etc. And these bullets are very powerful because they already buff Lei Heng from the beginning. You have Tiger Mark round, which already gives you unbreakables, and skill coins that spend Tiger Mark round gain power and deal more damage already from the beginning, immediately, once you have his passive activate, which is probably owned. So you have, like, let's say 5 Raf owned. Once you have 5 Raf, he's gonna inflict more damage based on with his coins. So just a small thing there. And this is innate damage bonuses. You don't need any scaling. This is already innate. So already we have damage bonuses just from the get-go. And Savage Tiger Mark rounds just make this even better. So of course there's a lot of other things we can talk about, such as Tremor Scorch and his Tremor, Burn, etc., etc. But I do want to talk about that later in favor of talking about Sinclair. So we just reviewed the game plan of, hey, Lei Heng Salt, I want to consume ammo for this. I want to consume ammo for this. And once I'm out of ammo, I get overheat. Well, this is the ID that prevents you from overheating just for a little bit longer. We have Dumb E Soldato to Sinclair. So we're just gonna ignore his skills really fast. I want to talk about immediately just his passive. So in the beginning, he gains Scorch Propellant ammo, which is an ammo that you can have a max of 15 of. So he starts with 15 of that. He has zero way of regaining this ammo. Zero. He cannot regain this ammo at all. So, and it works the same way as Lei Heng Salt. Oh, he does burn and break count with these effects. He just doesn't have the damage bonus with it. The only damage bonus he gets from it is if you spend it with skills or passive, and he gains damage up the next turn, which is something that we're going to ignore. Especially, I want to point out later once we get into the strategies with Thumb Sinclair. So the most interesting part of his kit is he actually refills ammo with priority to the first deployed ally in your team. So let's say you deploy out of the wazoo, full stop Hong Lu, and then Heathcliff. Because he gives you ammo when they reach half of their ammo, let's say you have like, oh, Hong Lu just spent, what is Hong Lu's max ammo? I actually forgot. Let's just assume it's 15. And let's just assume it's 16 because I want an even number. Let's say assume it's 16 and say you get to 7 ammo. Once you spend ammo, he's going to give you the same amount of ammo. And let's say you have like 8, you spend 2, you get to 6, right? You get 2 again because you just spent 2 and you went down the half threshold. So you get 2 from Thumb Sinclair. And then let's say Heathcliff. also spend his ammo that exact same way, although he does a single bullet. Let's just assume he does the same thing as Honglu. He spends the bullets the exact same way. He's gonna prioritize giving Honglu the ammo first. So if Sinclair only had 2 bullets left, he's gonna spend all of that only on Honglu. He's gonna completely ignore Heathcliff. So Heathcliff is gonna be rotting out to death. So that's how that works. And he has 15 of this. So that's very, very fun. This is gigantic. This is ammo support. Ammo support. And I was not expecting this at all. I thought it was gonna be only for Mule but this is literal ammo generation out the wazoo. Just 15 of that. And the funny thing is, he only spent it on his S3. Only on his S3. S2, S1, it doesn't even use it. Only the S3. So these 15 bullets, you can save them a lot of the time. You can just ignore the S3, use S1, S2, use guard instead, and you can completely just save these 15 bullets until your team wants them. So how does this really help Mere Salt? That's the fun part of this thing. So get your notepads out, get your mental math out. Okay, so earlier I just mentioned you had 12 Tiger Mark rounds, right? And you can force them to reload with your counter. Either you go to 0 or you get staggered, right? And Sinclair gives you bullets when you go below half. So the expected thing is, oh, you go to 5, you get refilled again, blah, 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 and then you consume more to get Unrelenting Spirit. But no, that is not the strategy that I want to talk about here. The strategy is you use counter the first turn. Now, why does this, you use counter the first turn? Why do we want to do this? Well, first of all, when you use counter or get staggered, let's say you had like 8 Tiger Mark rounds, the normal one. Let's say you get staggered or use counter. The next turn you reload, all that normal Tiger Mark round is going to be gone. Completely gone. You are never going to get them back. You now only have Savage Tiger Mark rounds. And as we know from earlier, Savage Tiger Mark rounds are just stronger in general, inflicting assumingly more damage and more status infliction. So in general, Savage Tiger Mark round is already better, but you only have 8 of them. But here's the thing. If you counter in the first turn, you get to skip this entire Tiger Mark round thing. You don't need to have Sinclair refill your normal Tiger Mark round. No, no, no. You counter the first turn, you shit out every single little piece of your Tiger Mark rounds, and now you have Savage Tiger Mark rounds, which are already stronger. And then once you go below 4 on Savage Tiger Mark rounds, Sinclair is going to give you a bullet, and then you're going to be able to use even more Savage Tiger Mark rounds. So you can skip this entire thing of like the weaker ammo in favor of Savage Tiger Mark rounds. And I'll get into how quite ridiculous this can get, because let's do some math here. Okay? You have 8 ammo here, right? 8 from Savage Tiger Mark round. You have 8 here. Sinclair has 15 ammo. So theoretically, 8 plus 15, 23. 23 ammo in total you can have for Mere Salt if you completely dump your normal ammo on the first turn in favor of Savage Tiger Mark rounds. Why wouldn't you want to use Tiger Mark rounds though? Because they are just generally weaker, and it doesn't really matter unless you want to get Shin, which is kind of a minor bonus when you like it's just more conditional damage up and speed up. But Savage Tiger Mark rounds, they give you more status infliction and more innate damage. And you're going to get these bonuses sooner or later anyway by just using Savage Tiger Mark rounds. 8 plus 15, 23 ammo. That is a lot of ammo. You are going to be eating a lot of ammo just to fill these Unrelenting Spirits, and you're going to fill them anyway. You're going to fulfill these conditionals anyway. You're going to get them earlier next time anyway. So you're already going to get these many bonuses. Why not just shit out Tiger Mark round immediately in favor of getting Savage Tiger Mark rounds instead of using Sinclair's refills on a useless ammo such as Tiger Mark round, which is just weaker. So just refill it with Savage Tiger Mark round. So the general game plan of this identity is you want to counter first turn, And then you're gonna get the innate damage buff. You're gonna have Savage Tiger Mark round next turn. You're gonna have the innate damage buff. You're gonna have more status infliction, and then you're gonna have Sinclair. Instead of reloading the normal ammo, you're gonna actually be reloading Savage ammo, which is really good once we get into the skills. Now, I ignored the skills earlier. Now we have to talk about the skills. S1 general stuff, just Sloth. Sloth is pretty good for burn. I don't play Tremor, by the way, so I will not be talking about this in terms of Tremor. S2 is Lust. Okay, normal stuff. But I do want to point out it inflicts Tremor count and burn count, which I will point out later in the game plan. And you have Tangle Creeper. This is going to be unbreakable with normal bullets. But we're going to mostly ignore this because our strategy isn't going to be using this at all. Because before use, if this unit has Savage Tiger Mark round, it's gonna activate his enhanced S3 instead of the normal S3. And because our strategy involves shitting out these normal bullets, we're gonna have immediately Savage Tiger Mark rounds. And because you can't get Tiger Mark rounds again at all later in the battle, you're gonna permanently have this version instead until you reach 0. So let's count how many Savage Tiger Mark rounds this inflicts. 1, 2, 3. 3 Savage Tiger Mark rounds, which out of the 23 we have. So that is 7 enhanced S3s that you're able to use. 7 enhanced S3s of 5 coins. I need not tell you how strong that is and the potential damage it has if the numbers are actually good. That is a lot of bullets to play with, especially when you have the innate damage buffs from both his unique status and from Savage Tiger Mark rounds. That is a lot of damage. But you might be asking yourself, but hey, it's gonna take a while until you get S trees. So of course, one way you can get around this is by using S2s and S3s together instead of using only S3s. Because S2 actually gains more bonuses and it gets burn count additional buff up as well. When you have an S1 in rotation, I recommend instead of using S1, just use Clashable Counter instead because it actually doesn't consume any ammo. So you're able to save ammo for the stronger S2 and S3 enhanced, which is going to be a lot stronger than using your S1s, which is just going to waste your Savage Tiger Mark rounds. And just a callback again, Tiger Mark rounds work the exact same way as Savage Tiger Mark rounds. Just because it says spend Tiger Mark rounds does not mean Savage Tiger Mark rounds won't work. I'll take a drink here. So let's just review. The game plan is you use your counter to forcefully deplete all your ammo, all your normal ammo. The next turn, you get Savage Tiger Mark round without getting into overheat. You get to Savage Tiger Mark round. And then you have Sinclair. And what you want Sinclair to do is only use S1 and S2 because S1 and S2 does not use any bullets. This is what I was talking about earlier and what I want to bring up later. So you're going to save all your bullets from Sinclair, all 15. You're going to ignore the S3, and you're going to have 23 total ammo. Savage Tiger Mark rounds. He spends it. Sinclair gives him again. Sinclair gives him again. Sinclair gives him again, etc., etc., etc. This keeps repeating until he gets to 0. And you have very strong skills, very high innate damage, very high damage buffs, and this enhanced S3 is going to deal a lot of damage. This S2 is going to be doing a lot as well, which is going to be your in-between because you're not going to have S3 every single turn. And that's the general game plan. You're going to want to keep doing this until you reach 0 ammo, in which case you're going to have overheat. But I do want to talk about one last thing first. When this unit uses a base attack skill that spends the final round of Savage Tiger Mark round, they gain attack weight. So you're going to have this skill, Savage Tiger Slayers perfected for your plates, have attack weight. And you're going to most likely want to have this as your last skill closing out because you're going to have the attack weight along with it, which is going to be extremely strong. So once you get into overheat, which is over here, when you have 0 savage ammo left, you're going to be having this and this in conjunction. So you have min and max speed increase. At the minimum, this is a 2 minimum speed increase. This is a 2 max speed increase. and this is a minimum one. So he gets 3 haste for free. 3 haste for free just from the get go, plus more maximum. So not exactly 3 haste, but you get my idea. So this is a really, really speedy ID once you get to 0 bullets. But you might ask, what's the use of a speedy ID if he's gonna lose every single damn clash because he has clash power down? Well, I'll tell you what, he gains protection based on missing HP, and he has a lot of speed. So what can this guy do? He can just body block. You have 0 ammo, you have a very speedy ID, and we know Mursalt IDs to be a really tanky, the tankiest IDs in the game most of the time, the highest HP IDs in the game, and this is gonna have a lot of speed. This is gonna be intercepting attacks. This is gonna be an amazing tank once you run out of ammo. So let's just from the top down once again. The game plan: counter first turn, deplete everything. You have 8 Savage Tiger Mark rounds. You have Sinclair with 15. You spend your Tiger Mark rounds. Sinclair gives you 15 all on his own if you ignore the S3. With these Savage Tiger Mark rounds, you use S2 and S3 in patterns, and then you use your enhanced S3 as the last uh, in best case scenario. And you're going to be dealing a lot of damage just from these two. And 23 ammo is definitely a lot. So that is the general game plan. A different version of the strategy that I want to point out is that you can actually get to 6 ammo first, 6 ammo with the normal round first, and then you counter. So you're gonna consume 6 first, and then counter and refill. So that's not gonna make any difference with the amount of ammo that Sinclair gives you because you're not going under the threshold of Hoff, which is 6. So you'll be getting the exact same amount of value with Savage Tiger Mark rounds, and you're gonna be consuming 6 so you can get the haste faster. Why didn't I think this was better? Because early burn count infliction is really nice to get things going just immediately. I know we have Firefist Gregor for burn count, but just getting more burn count early is really nice. But in my opinion, up to you. It's preference. We'll see how the numbers go. But that is a ladder strategy. You can do everything exactly the same, but you spend 6 first and then you counter. So that's a different version of strategy. So I hope that actually helped explain Lei Heng and Dom Sinclair's kit and their strategy. For the rest of the effects, I do want to point out, Tremor burn count here, burn count here. You have some burn count here, tremor count, and you have tremor scorch. Tremor scorch, which is the final thing we'll be talking about, is actually just tremor potency and burn potency divided by 2 damage, Wrath damage, meaning this is actually buffed by Indicant Trial Rodion. And you also have just normal tremor stuff, raise track, stagger threshold, etc., and you deal bonus wrath damage. That is literally it. A Sinclair, you have the exact same thing. He inflicts burn count. If conditional burn count, some tremor burst here, good scaling here and here, and just normal S3s here. So then what does this actually imply about the position of their role in different teams? First of all, in Tremor, I'm not going to talk about Tremor because I don't play Tremor and I do not want to step a foot into that very deep ocean at all. I am avoiding that ocean at all costs. So we're going to be looking at this as a burn perspective. On a burn perspective, you are replacing Philip Clare for Dom Sinclair. And Philip Sinclair is a very strong burn identity, and he is the one of the main damage dealers in a burn team. So if you're running Lei Heng Salt with Sinclair to bring out his full potential, you are sacrificing one important DPS for another DPS. Because your Dis Sinclair isn't really going to do anything but S1 and S2 for optimal Savage Tiger Mark rounds. And in general, for burn, once you have Savage Tiger Mark rounds, you're going to inflict a lot of burn count. So this is really good early. And it's going to be really, really good over time because this is a lot of nukes every 5 turns along with S2s. It's going to be very strong damage output. Is it going to be better than Philip Sinclair? we're gonna have to see once they come out. But from the look of it, I will look at this from a general perspective. From the look of it, he seems pretty good, man. Just from a generalist perspective, like if you're running just Lehang Salt with Tom Sinclair and Zwei Ishmael, and then like three other random strong IDs, that sounds really strong already. I'll be honest. And just a small mention, he gains bonuses based on Burn and Tremor, some of Burn and Tremor. So it doesn't have to be purely both of them. It doesn't have to be purely Tremor. It doesn't have to be purely Burn. You can have like only Burn, and that's gonna give you final power. You do not need Tremor for this. If you have enough Burn, you can just get the bonuses immediately. So already, he is scaling off of the two statuses. So just a small thing I want to point out: a lot of these IDs having double dipping in two statuses, and they're still good because they scale based on their two statuses. And that is a design that I just want to point out because I find it really interesting because it opens up a lot of team building opportunities. So I hope that helped explain Tom Sinclair and Tom Mearsalt and their general placement in the team. I'm sorry if I was a little too fast in explaining. I hope you were able to get the information you wanted to. Now, some questions that I wanna point out. Number one, can Tom Sinclair reload Altier Logic ammo, which is Full Stop Heathcliff's unique ammo for S3, which is a really strong skill? The answer is no, because Altier Logic ammo, Kim Ji Hoon had forethought, and he made it so that you can't regain Altier Logic ammo at all. Because Altier Logic ammo has text saying you can't regain this in any way. But he can give ammo purely for Heathcliff and Full Stop Honglu. I mentioned this in an example I mentioned earlier. Number two, actually, not number two is not really a question. It's more like a something I wanted to point out. For the people who actually read the kit, you might be asking me why I didn't talk about the one additional ammo. Because I did mention like, oh, 8 Savage Tiger Mark rounds plus 15, which is the ammo of Sinclair, which is 23. So 23 ammo for your Salt to play with. Wouldn't it be 27? Now, some people have told me, oh, it's probably just accelerating the ammo, aka, say your Mirror Salt spends 2 ammo and he's on 6 ammo and he goes to 4. We're talking about normal Tiger Mark rounds, by the way, and he goes to 4. So you're gonna have plus 3 because you give him the 2 back and plus 1. The question is that plus 1 from his own stash, aka the 15, or is it from out of nowhere? What I'm saying is, after giving the 2 ammo, does it go down to 13 or 12? If it's 12, then the max is 23 for Lehang Your Salt. If it is 13, then you're going to have a max of 27, which is 9 enhanced S3s. Not going to make a lot of difference because you're not going to have S3s that often anyway, but just a small thing I want to point out because it really isn't clear. I'll just take this directly from the text. If the ammo receiving identity is a top identity of a higher rank, supply 1 additional ammo they use. It really is not clear about that. And yeah. Yeah. That's gonna be it. You're gonna never really want to be using S1 because you're gonna be using counter over it because you do want to save your ammo. S2, S3, Savage Tag Mark rounds. Huge nuke. Refilling ammo, giving your assault 15 ammo when you just have the two together. 23 Savage Tiger Mark rounds, or 27. These Tiger Mark rounds are going to be really useful over a very long course of the fight. And yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. And I hope you guys will get him if you're pulling for him. But I will suggest just sharding them. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.